Real quick, before we get to today's top stories, in the last hour, we mentioned this reenactment that we did, which everyone can find on our Instagram. You can follow us at Ryan Gorman Show. There was a picture, a behind-the-scenes photo of Vice President Kamala Harris. It was taken when she was eating Doritos, and so we had Dana reenact it, and we put them both up and asked who ate Doritos better. But there's something about the Harris photo I didn't notice until listeners started pointing it out in the comments. It looks like Vice President Kamala Harris has horns.
It does. Can you see it, Chris? Do you see? It looks like she has horns.
It does.
She's standing in front of the seal of the president or of the vice president. I can't see what it says exactly, but I think there's an eagle there, and so the eagle wings are sticking out of where her head is in just the right spot.
Let me see that again.
It's really crazy. I mean, it looks like she
has
horns.
She's in like the perfect spot to make it look like she's got horns.
Wow, the conspiracy theories now.
Damn right.
Yeah,
oh my
gosh.
Pointed
it out in the comments. I hadn't even noticed that. I was too busy getting the look on my face because she doesn't look to be very happy to be eating Doritos at all. I was trying to get the look on my face and the hand placement right on the bag.
You look much happier.
Yeah.
Well, I tried to not look happy.
Yeah, you look pretty happy there. So,
and she didn't even eat the Doritos. I ended up eating the bag of Doritos. But yeah, so you can see the horns that Kamala Harris has. Check that out. Ryan Gorman Show on Instagram is where you can find it. All right, let's get to today's top stories. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning. Vice President Harris made her closing argument to voters at the Ellipse in Washington, D.C. That's the same place that former President Trump gave his speech right before the January 6th riot. Harris's team quick to point out her crowd much larger than his. Harris cast Trump as a, quote, petty tyrant and said that he's an impeached president who's seeking a return to unchecked power.
So let me play a clip from that speech and listen closely to the background noise here.
It will probably be the most important vote you ever cast. And this election is more than just a choice between two parties and two different candidates. It is a choice about whether we have a country rooted in freedom for every American or ruled by chaos and division.
So let's put apart the substance of that comment where, it could be the last election that we ever have and focus in on what's important. This is the problem doing an event like that in D.C. where there's a little bit of crime these days. You've got this siren going on in the background, and it was so distracting for the first part of her speech. I was impressed that she was able to keep it together and not, screw up.
Right. Well, it was so loud for us to be able to hear
really
it through the
loud.
TV that I can only imagine what it was like for her trying to speak. She probably couldn't even hear herself.
Yeah.
It must have been really annoying.
You think it was that noticeable?
Oh, I thought it was.
Yeah,
because
I thought it sounded like a slide whistle, but,
I wasn't sure at first if it was somebody, screwing with her, like, in the background or something like that.
Like playing an air horn.
Yeah. But then you could kind of make out that it was a siren. And yeah, it was for me, at least, it was distracting because you're like, what is that in the background? And like if the fire alarm was going off here while we were doing the show.
Oh, yeah, that would drive us
No
nuts.
way I'd be able to get through it. Are you kidding me? I'd be screwing up and stumbling over my words and be totally distracted. The speech, look, it was essentially going back to the type of speech she delivered at the beginning of the campaign, kind of reminiscent a little bit of her acceptance speech at the Democratic National Convention. I think that's the best version of Harris, and that's why I think the launch, her campaign launch, led to a good amount of momentum. The problem is then once she is doing interviews or is just kind of revealing herself and her positions to the electorate, that's when we've seen her numbers steadily go down. Whether or not she can kind of regain a little bit of momentum a couple of days out from Election Day, we'll see. It's a close race.
Yeah, I mean, the message, I think, essentially was that she's a uniter, not a divider.
Yeah.
And that, she's going to offer something to everybody, not just a specific group. And then, of course, she took some shots at Trump as well.
Right. The problem with delivering that message is that you've got members of the party and others who, are calling Trump and his supporters Nazis based on their rally at Madison Square Garden. And then the real problem for Vice President Kamala Harris and this is difficult to when you're trying to make that case, like Chris said, that you're trying to bring the country together, when the president, who you're the vice president for, says this.
Or Puerto Rico, where I'm in my home state of Delaware, they're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization is seen as unconscionable, and it's un-American.
Couple of things. First of all, can you imagine if Biden was still at the top of the ticket and he was the nominee? We'd be looking at a landslide.
Oh,
right
absolutely. Now. Oh, yeah, 1,000% we would be.
We played a couple of clips from him over the past couple of days. The other day when he said that when he referred to Gabby Giffords in the past tense.
Yes.
I didn't maybe realize she was alive still.
Mark Kelly was his good friend, and his wife was his friend.
Yeah, and then that, I mean, it would. If I'm Trump, I'm just stewing 24/7. That
he is.
Yeah, he dropped out of the race, but also not helpful for Kamala Harris, and she's going to have to respond. She hasn't responded. At least I haven't seen any statement yet. About those comments that Trump supporters are garbage, that they're the only garbage out there.
I don't know if he was necessarily. I mean, you could read a number of ways how this was, put out. I don't know if Biden was talking about every single Trump supporter or the
That's
people.
What it sounded like.
No, I think it may have sounded like he was referring to the people at that Madison Square Garden rally who made all those comments during that event.
Perhaps. Let's play it one more time, real quick.
Or Puerto Rico, where I'm in my home state of Delaware. They're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
I mean, look, I think you're right, Chris.
Well, but you didn't finish the whole quote. He said those supporters who are making those kind of remarks. And that's what we heard at Madison Square Garden. A number of Trump supporters making racist, misogynist remarks. And that's what's caused all the controversy for Trump in the last couple of days.
Right. I think this is one of those things where you can take what Biden said and you can compare it to Trump's whole very fine people thing in the context of what he said. And that's been used against him over and over again, even though he made the disclaimer that he wasn't talking about the neo-Nazis and all that. It's basically the same thing if you want to take this quote and try to say that Biden was only talking about those specific people that were at that rally laughing at that joke.
The White House put out a statement and in the transcript, and they had an apostrophe before the S, so like supporters singular.
Why do they do that?
So that
doesn't help.
That's their take. So I'm telling you, it's apostrophe gate is what this controversy is. Bottom line, doesn't help Vice President Kamala Harris, and she has to respond to this immediately.
Well, I don't know if it hurts her that much. He's talking about people who are in the tank for Trump.
How she responds to it is going to determine whether or not it hurts her. She needs to respond immediately and distance herself from this. And if she doesn't, she's going to just create some problems, unnecessary. That's not the news cycle you want if you're the Harris campaign moving forward, as you just made your closing argument. You only got a couple of days left.
Yeah, but she's not the one saying it. In the case of Hillary Clinton, she said it. And she also made a much broader comment.
Right.
Basket of deplorables was talking about all those people, not just, maybe specific people at a rally. So, we'll see if it makes that big of a difference, but it is not her. Biden is not the candidate anymore.
But
so,
she's still going to be asked about it.
And it's similar to Trump having to make an excuse for a comedian.
Right.
At his
well, he
rally.
didn't know the comedian. He had never heard of him before.
Even though he
didn't know.
Yeah, I don't even know that guy. I don't know what the hell he was doing.
All right. Real quick, let's get to the Miami-Dade county ballot story.
So what's more important as a elections worker than securing the ballots, right?
Well, getting to where you need to go as quickly as possible, apparently.
Yes. Well, he's got plenty of time to think about that because the worker in Miami-Dade will have to find a new job. Containers with ballots from the county found on the side of the road after they fell out of one of the county trucks. The worker forgot to lock the back of the truck and drove off, and a sealed bin with a sealed bag fell out, according to the election supervisor, Christina White. She said that the containers did remain sealed. The ballots inside had been scanned and tabulated at the South Dade Regional Library's early voting site. So the fact that they had lost the ballots isn't going to affect the results. However, you got to do a better job with the transporting of these things. And as a result, the guy has been fired.
I mean, in a moment in an election where everybody's so on edge.
Yeah.
You've got this. You've got the mailman in Central Florida just dumping political mail, including a ballot in the middle of the forest.
Right, and then the ballot box is on fire in Oregon and Washington.
I mean,
yeah.
We're off to a rip-roaring
What
start
about the
here.
guy with the machete in Duval County?
Yeah.
That was really fun.
There have been a number of incidents. There was somebody in West Palm Beach, the Palm Beach Post, they reported that he was circling the lot of an early voting location, just yelling out racial slurs. I mean,
How many days left?
Yeah, 6
Man.
days left. 6 days left.
Oh,
Chris.
boy.
All right, Chris Trankman with today's top stories. Chris, thanks so much.
Thank you.